Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin from Florals.com, and today in the Falling Back to Basics series we are talking about how to get your crafty mojo back. Now if you don't know what I'm referring to, it's those times where you really don't feel like doing scrapbooking, but you also feel guilty for not scrapbooking because you have a whole section of supplies in your house. You spent all this money, you need to scrapbook because it's your hobby. You usually enjoy it, but for some reason you're just not, or you don't feel motivated to do it, or you don't know what to scrapbook about, or there's a plethora of reasons why you lose your crafty mojo. You don't know what to put on a page, you feel like you're at a standstill with a certain photo. Again, this happens in so many different ways and touches on so many different people in different ways that it's important that we talk about it. And we talk about these struggles with scrapbooking because it seems so easy. So you just sit down, you make something, and it looks good. It sounds simple, but it's not. It's a lot of thought process behind it. And today I wanted to share some of the ways that you guys could get your crafty mojo back, or your inspiration to scrapbook back, or just, some inspiration to do something, whether it's paper crafting in a different way or some sort of art. But I hope these ideas help you, and I hope that for those that are veteran scrapbookers who experience crafty mojo loss a lot, I hope this is inspirational for you guys. And if you're a newer scrapbooker and you're still gung-ho about it, which a lot of us are right at the beginning, there is a burnout effect that comes with scrapbooking sometimes, and it's good to take breaks, so don't fret if you're not in your scrapbook room every day making something. Sometimes that's how it is, but if you do want to be in your scrap room doing something every day, hopefully some of these ideas will help spark something within you to go do some of these things. So one thing that I like to do when I don't feel like scrapbooking is looking through photos that are just printed, and then also through albums. So I think it's really fun to look back on these memories. Like if I were to open this album, which this is not a finished album, but you guys have seen a lot of these pages, just flipping through albums, even if they're not finished, like you can see here, no journaling, but even though they're not finished, it's just like, oh, it's really nice to be able to look back on this trip that we took to Vermont. Oh, I really like that page. You start getting back into it like, oh, why the heck did I make that cluster like that? I could do so much better. Or, oh, I love that idea. I'd love to do that again. Oh, I remember this story. I want to write about it. Things start happening when you start looking at your own designs. And even looking at other people's designs is a great way to get some inspiration and to feel like you can dive right back in. Like this page, so many layers under my photos. I rarely do that anymore, especially on small pages, so it's nice to see something like that. I haven't looked in this album in a little bit, so some of these pages I kind of forgot what they look like. Here I put extra photos, it seems. Yeah, so I need to put a tab there. I have like 5 extra photos. Some pull-out pieces here. There's a lot going on in here. And it's nice to just look back at this and sort of reminisce and say, oh wow, I did this. This is something I made that will live on, ideally, forever. But that's one way to do it, looking through old albums. It'll give you inspiration for pages you want to scrap lift, pages you might want to redo, stories you might want to tell, stories you might want to retell. If you do multiple albums, for your children, you want them to each have, an album, it'll help you spark those memories. Oh, I need to do this for my daughter's album or my son's album. Another thing I like to do is go through photos. Oftentimes when I do this, I do cull the photos, so I'll throw away some. Like this photo is not a great photo. Actually, it looks pretty good on camera, but it's like completely out of focus, and as well as this one. So I'd probably throw those away. We'll recycle them at least, because I do have them digitally. But as you go through, you'll start seeing like, oh, this page would look great in a 12 by 12 on the wall because this is a photo of me and I want that framed. This one's a good photo. Things will start coming together, whether it's the memories that you're reminded of or a photo that you hate that you want to get rid of. Not that I want to get rid of any of these, but I showed you some that were out of focus that might need to be getting rid of. And I have duplicates in here, so what am I going to do with those? So if you don't like organizing photos like I do, which I know, it seems like you should like to do that when you're scrapbooking, that you like to have your photos organized and neat and ready to go for you, but I'm not one of those people. You can also organize when you're feeling left out of the crafty mojo. You can organize photos so they're ready to go. Sometimes that's all you need to do to get started again. Something will spark that memory that you really want to go in and dive in and scrapbook about. But if you're not into organizing photos like I am, you might want to organize supplies. So let me move these out of the way. And if you're anything like me, organizing supplies can be really fun or really annoying. So recently I redid all of my washi tape organization. They don't all fit in the same spot, but I do have them organized by color now, so that's really fun. So this is something I did. It helped me reacquaint myself with my washi tape. So these are like the neutrals and metallics, and then one multicolored because it's too tall to fit anywhere else. So I have blacks, whites, grays, and then we have metallics, and then some glitter finish metallics as well. So there's a lot going on in here, but it's a lot better than it was in which there was no organization before. Like even now while I'm talking to you guys, I want to reorganize it a little bit so that black and white are together a little bit better than they were before. So that's something you can do, organizing supplies, reorganizing them. Sometimes you don't have to organize them, you just have to rearrange them or reassociate yourself with them. Sometimes people have really great craft rooms that work for them. Definitely don't change things if it's not broken, but if you're feeling uninspired, sometimes just moving furniture around can help, or resituating your desk can help. These now sit directly in front of me on my desk, whereas before they used to sit off to the side of my desk. So I recently rearranged. I did a video on that for my craft room rearrange, and you guys can check that out. I'll have it linked down below, and there will be a craft room tour coming up very soon. But while you're organizing, you might be inspired to grab some index cards. Now I personally don't do this, but a lot of people do. Grab index cards and then the photos you were just looking through while you're looking through your supplies, and writing down what supplies you want to use for those photos. Some of us are able to picture the finished product before we have time to sit down and do it, so writing it down really helps, and an index card will fit in your photo cases or however you organize your photos. Another thing that might happen while you're organizing is you might want to start pairing things together. Now, I have made a ton of page kits in my time. I personally don't find that I reach for them very often, so I no longer make page kits unless it is for a monthly kit that I know I'm going to be using within the next couple of weeks, but currently I have some page kits floating around. These are old monthly kits that I tore apart into page kits, and while I haven't reached for them yet, just looking at them, I completely forgot that I had these specific color schemes ready to go, and I can see a lot of different photos that I've seen while looking through my photos while trying to reestablish my Crafty Mojo that would work well with these beautiful color schemes. And it's just nice to know that there are these options available when you don't have a lot of time. So if you're someone who does not have a lot of time, I recommend making page kits in bulk if you can. There's lots of videos on it. I have videos about page kits as well. But if you make page kits, store them. They're ready to go when you finally do get a moment and inspiration to scrapbook. They're here, they're waiting for you, and they're excited to see you, I'm sure, because we don't want them collecting dust off in the corner. We want to use them. But again, if you don't have page kits, give it a try. If you didn't like page kits, totally understand. Some people like to, sit down when they're doing their page and actually dive into their supplies. It really depends on your interest and your style. So if going through photos, going through albums, and going through your supplies and organizing your supplies don't interest you, or don't seem to get that Crafty Mojo back, something I always like to do is to keep supplies out. Now this really depends on your personality. I don't really have a clean scrap room, as you can imagine, but I always have stuff that's visually out so I can see it, I can flip through it, I can be inspired by it. Like this little bin here is full of colors, full of little clusters that I've made previously. It's all in here, it's all ready to go, it's all waiting for me, and it's sort of like, okay, well, if kids get excited about getting ready to go back home after school to play with their toys, you should be just as excited to go play with your toys. So for example, that would be stickers, it would be embellishments, it would be sequins, it would be all of the beautiful things that are in your stash. You should be excited every day to go in there, and if you're not, maybe that's a function of your room that needs to change. Oh look, a fall, what do you know? Some fall die cuts that'll go with my kit that I'm currently working with. Things like this really help. And these are all random. Try not to make it too specific. I like having a plethora of things to choose from. So there's multiple collections, multiple things, chipboard, we got some thread, we've got stickers down there. We've got jelly bean soup, we've got We Are Memory Keepers, we've got Vicky Booten, we've got homemade clusters, which I think are really fun, and more coming on clusters. I've got some gifted items because I'm excited to use those. Keeping a sampling out like this not only promotes you know, a visual stimulation of color and interest. But just looking at these are the things that are in the front. I particularly like getting word phrases on my layout. So by having this in the front, which is again just a me thing, depends on your style, I read these almost every day when I sit down to scrapbook. So every time I'm in here, these are the things I see because they're sitting right off here to the side of my desk. Not at eye level, but close enough. So here's the story. It's just one of those inspirational quotes that really gets me going about scrapbooking. And if you're anything like me, you know that scrapbooking is for the storytelling, for the memories, for every bit of your life into a catalog. It's yours, it will always be yours, and it's important. So don't forget that. So it's nice to have that in the front. Eventually I'll use it, but I really like this color scheme. It's Christmassy, but not Christmassy at the same time. Like, these are not Christmas. They're actually linked to these ones, and they're just from a family fun pack. So pinks, greens, and reds can all go together without being Christmas. Again, just having these little things sort of inspire me to look at them, to take them in, to think about them, and to hopefully reach for them. So sometimes when I'm looking for something for a page, I'll even sift through here to try to discover something that will work, because there is a plethora of colors, shapes, sizes, themes, stickers, and a bunch of stuff falling to the bottom, including garbage that we don't need. So there's a lot in here, but it's nice to have this little bucket. I also have buckets of other things, so when I have leftovers from certain layouts that I don't want to put away, I often put them in here, as well as some larger embellishments that don't fit anywhere else. So I do have a lot of things up here. And I also have a section that's not cardstock-ish. I have vellum pieces, I have acetate and foam and rubber and puffy stickers. So this is kind of the other type of bin where everything else goes. Most of this was a gift from, I believe Dolly sent me a lot of these things, and some are just from my stash, but having these out, it's really helpful just to spark something to create later on. So say that no matter what you do, you're not inspired by your stash, you're not inspired by your photos currently, you're just feeling at a standstill. I used to do this a lot. I don't do it nearly as much anymore, and it really depends on you and your situation, but I like to window shop a lot, especially when it comes to crafty supplies. It leads to great ideas for new pages. It leads to new color scheme inspiration for your own page kits or monthly kits, or for just your layouts that you're working on. You can window shop, you can regular shop, you can do whatever you want and whatever fits you. I know a lot of people are in spending freezes right now, especially with the holidays coming up, and some are just sending kids back to school, all sorts of stuff. But if you're in a spending freeze, don't be tempted to shop. Window shopping's really fun, but it can be dangerous, so it really depends on you and your style. But shopping can also lead to great inspiration if you're getting new things in the mail, monthly kits, or if you ordered something, or if you got a deal on Amazon when you were ordering something for your house. Whatever it is, sometimes mail's inspiration. And if you feel like you can't shop right now because of budget restriction, or you just have too much supplies and you're overwhelmed, doing a swap is another great idea. So finding someone in the crafty group, I know there are crafty groups set up just for swapping, so check those out over on Facebook, and probably on Instagram there's a few. So check those out if you're interested. I've done tons of swaps before. They're really, really fun, and really get you going when you know there's something in the mail waiting for you. And it's really fun to put something together for someone else, because you're taking things out of your stash to give to someone and then replacing them with brand new things that might excite you for your scrapbooking mojo to be rekindled. So lastly, I think that one of the things people often forget to do when they're low on mojo, or if they actually get stuck in doing, is looking up things online. I think online crafty inspiration is abundant. It is everywhere. It is on YouTube, it is on Instagram, it is on Facebook, it is on Pinterest. Pinterest is a whole nother beast of inspiration. But we also don't want to get lost in that. And I know some people get stuck in watching YouTube videos of scrapbooking rather than scrapbooking. And I think if you establish some rules with yourself that you're only allowed X amount of videos, scrapbooking related that is, before you can have to go in and scrapbook while you're watching those videos, that might get you a little bit more into the scrapbooking mood rather than the watching mood. But as other people have said on YouTube, there are seasons in scrapbooking. I think that's Janet from RTS who says that a lot. And as you go through these seasons, whether it's shopping season, you know, you need new stuff, you just feel like you're dragging on. Whether it's purging season, you need to get rid of stuff. So when you're reorganizing your supplies, you just get rid of stuff. by all means just get rid of it. Sometimes it's just nice to pass those things along, whether it's to a daycare or to your children's school or to a local church or community center. Getting rid of paper can be really, really therapeutic and really helpful for your crafty mojo. But we do get stuck in that inspiration stage where we're overwhelmed by inspiration. We don't know where to start. My Pinterest boards are covered in items that I want to try, but I don't often go to those because it's overwhelming to pick just one. So try to manage your time wisely. Inspiration's out there, but we don't need it to dictate everything we do. I promise you have your own ideas, whether you struggle with them or not. There are ideas that you have, and they're great. So maybe going through your own scrapbooks again, like I mentioned before, would be really helpful, because those were your ideas, or if not, they're your ideas transformed from someone else's ideas, whether it's a scrap lift or whatever. Those are great places to start, and they're right here. They're not on the internet. And there's tons of stuff on the internet, don't get me wrong, and it's all great stuff, and we all need to keep consuming it so people keep making it and that we can keep supporting the scrapbooking industry. But don't get overwhelmed by it. I know a lot of options are out there, and it's hard not to look at all of them, and it's hard not to want to do all of them, but you need to find a starting point that's comfortable for you. And if you are at a loss from Crafty Mojo, I would suggest YouTube videos in combination with touching your supplies. There's nothing better than going through supplies, seeing them, realizing how cute they are, and then wanting to use them. Like, I don't have camping photos, but I've been playing with these as sort of outdoorsy pieces, and I want nothing more than to scrapbook camping photos right now, because I think these are just so gosh darn cute. And I think that just simple things like this, taking one product and thinking about it and seeing it and taking it in, is really, really helpful for those of us who feel like there's too much going on in their craft rooms. There's just so much, like, you need to keep using things because you're really overwhelmed. But there's a lot of solutions to these things. A lot of other people have talked about these things, whether you're overwhelmed by supplies or underwhelmed by your motivation to scrapbook. There's a lot out there that can help you. I'm just trying to sum it all up here and go through some of the things that I do. Generally, for example, a few weeks ago I had been on a business trip and I did not want to come back and scrapbook. I needed to make more videos for you guys, and I think being a YouTuber, that is, there's a different sort of feeling when scrapbooking becomes your job. And by the way, I don't do this for a full-time living. As you guys know, I do upload 3 times a week, but that's just for fun. But I really do like providing you guys with information, especially this past summer when I did that Summer of Stories series. It's something I thought about for so long, and I finally did it, and you guys loved it. And that's what I want to do. I want to be providing more than just process videos. I want it to be educational, and I want it to be worth something for you guys to sit down and watch it. And even though that takes a lot of time, YouTube takes a ton of time, and it's still fun to do because I like the scrapbooking part, and I obviously like the video editing part. It's still a struggle to get in here sometimes, and even though I have those deadlines that I've created for myself, it's still hard. When I got back from my business trip a few weeks ago, I did not want to come in here. It had been over probably a week and a half since I had scrapbooked, and usually I do it pretty often because, again, I do videos for you guys. I have my Patreon where I do videos. I do a lot of sharing of my projects, so I need to be in here quite often to keep that up the way I'd like to. And it's nice to be able to think that these deadlines will really propel me, but here I am filming another video a couple hours before I want to have it up by. So it's not that deadlines help, but they can help if you structure it correctly. And like I said, YouTube's a nice thing to have because it does not force me to scrapbook, but it forces me to think about scrapbooking differently, in that I'll be sharing it with an audience and I want them to get the most out of it. So even when I'm going through my scrapbooking stages, whether that be the shopping stage and I share hauls, or whether that be the organizing stage and I share organizational videos, you guys are there with me every step of the way. You're witnessing my Crafty Mojo struggles, and you're just not realizing it. So don't think that everyone doesn't go through this. They really do. There's a lot of burnout that comes with this creative hobby, and with any creative hobby, especially coming up with new ideas and new theories and new concepts to share. It's hard, but it is so worth it. And especially if you guys stick with it and you guys see a finished album, Like just a 6x8 album is so powerful, especially when you share it with family and friends. It may not seem like they think much of it, but I promise it is worth so much in the eyes of the future generations of your family, in the eyes of your future children or grandchildren or great-grandchildren. Like, how many of you have scrapbooked photos of your childhood or teen self that you've shared with family? I think that's often something I think about. Since I started scrapbooking so young, I have memories from my middle school and high school that I scrapbooked during that time. And I know that a lot of you guys often scrapbook the present, whether that's your children or your current life. It can be so much, but even going back to those other times, so I would go back and scrapbook when I was a lot younger, just to have them. But like, imagine when your children see you on a family vacation from when you were in high school. I just think that's so powerful, and I think that going through albums is one of the best ways to get yourself motivated to scrapbook again. Even if your style has changed, and trust me, my style changes all the time. You guys know I don't have a set style. It just comes and it goes to whenever it pleases. And I have taken quite a bit of time off of scrapbooking before, and that's perfectly fine, guys. You come back to it, you get over it, you come back, you leave, you come back. That's kind of how it is. There are seasons of scrapbooking, and I totally believe that. There are different things that come with it. As you go through these stages in life, you're also going through seasons of scrapbooking. So as you do, be sure to keep up with yourself, make sure you're doing okay, make sure that when you're scrapbooking, you actually enjoy the process. You shouldn't be scrapbooking if you feel like it's a chore. At least I hope you don't feel like it's a chore. I hope it's a fun hobby for you. And if it is, I think that will reflect in your pages. But like I said, I do have my own set deadlines, so that kind of helps me along. So if you don't have set deadlines for your scrapbooking goals or scrapbooking anything, or if you're just doing this leisurely, maybe make yourself a challenge. Join those challenges. Sometimes that's enough motivation that you need to really get going, is to just challenge yourself to do something by a certain date, or to use something by a certain date, or to create X amount during a week. There's lots of different options, and I would highly recommend them because it really can be impactful when you start really sitting down and scrapbooking more. And if you find yourself avoiding things, sometimes that's Crafty Mojo loss within itself. I haven't worked on this album in so long, so am I avoiding it? Or am I not wanting to scrapbook it anymore? What's the deal behind that? So when you're working on projects, just keep that in mind. Maybe there's something lingering underneath that has your Crafty Mojo stopped, reversed. Just keep that in mind. Maybe there's something in there that you need to explore within yourself, depending on the topic of the photo. If they're difficult photos, I know a lot of people have a lot of hard times that they don't know if they want to include in their scrapbooks or not, but that's a whole nother video. And I'm sorry that these are ranty videos. I'll have a list down below in the description box that you guys can check out to sort of summarize what I talked about in this video about different techniques to get your Crafty Mojo back. But like I said, sometimes the best inspiration is your own inspiration, is really thinking about why you're scrapbooking, is really just going through your supplies. You own all these beautiful things, all of them. You own all of these beautiful things. You own all those printed photos. What could come of these things that really impacts life later on? So whether it's 30 years from now, when you're looking at your scrapbooks with your grandchildren or your children, or with your brothers and sisters about family memories, there's lots of different options. There's lots of different pretty things, and it's okay to feel stuck. It's okay to lose your Crafty Mojo, because we've all been there. I promise it happens to everyone in one form or another. And like I said, my crafty inspiration comes and goes, and you guys can kind of see that in my videos. When I'm doing videos that aren't scrapbook pages, it's usually because I don't feel like scrapbooking. If it's organization, that means I probably didn't feel like scrapbooking. If it's a vlog, it's probably because I didn't feel like scrapbooking. If it's a haul, I especially didn't feel like scrapbooking. But there's lots of inspiration out there. Don't let it deter you from just diving into your own stuff. Playing with paper is the best remedy for getting some Crafty Mojo back, and I would highly recommend starting somewhere simple, just going through some supplies. Reorganizing is where I always start. As you can tell from my YouTube videos, that's where I always start. I always make a reorganization video before I dive into some new stuff. But I hope you guys enjoyed this rambly video. Again, I'll have a list down below so you guys can check out everything that I've talked about in this video and hopefully find some new things to try out or to do. Everyone, please leave a comment down below with one of your favorite crafty YouTubers so that we can all be inspired by someone new. I think it'd be really inspirational to have a nice list down there of people that we love to watch to get our crafty mojo back or to be inspired by, and that everyone else can start watching them too. So let's spread the love and leave a comment down below with a favorite crafty YouTuber. And that is it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already. There's going to be a lot more for the Crafty Falling Back to Basics series here on my channel, and I'm really excited to get into the really fun stuff, which is the DIY clusters, the go-to designs, lots of fun stuff coming. But that is it for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!